Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of FGC Behind the Smoke. I'm your podcast host, Adamo.
And I'm Boris.
And today we have a special guest. We have Chief Josh Foster from the Big White Fire Department, and he is going to talk to us today about their work experience program. So, Chief, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really looking forward to it.
So, could you tell us just a bit about what the work experience program is? Just a quick introduction of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, here in our community in Big White, we're predominantly a paid-on-call fire department. But because we are in a resort community, staffing that fire department, especially during the day, can be really challenging. So, what we looked to do, and we're moving into our 24th year actually of this program. So what we looked to do almost 25 years ago was to figure out some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement that we could, number one, meet our call responsibilities, especially during the day, but then also offer something that maybe gives entry-level, young, up-and-coming, however you want to call it, firefighters, give them a leg up to help them step into a full-time career role wherever they choose to be. So that's really essentially it. From a sort of a 30,000 foot perspective, the crew come and join us for just under 11 months of the program, and we work through more training, more certifications, and then probably the biggest asset to those young firefighters when they come through our program is experience. They get on average a couple hundred calls under their belts, right? Which, as any career firefighter know, that might be a busy month kind of thing. But for these folks that don't have that experience, that's really what it gives them. It gives them the experience of living in the fire hall with their peers, shoulder to shoulder. What those interpersonal situations are like, and how to work on a team, and how to be a valuable member of a team is really kind of it, in broad strokes.
Absolutely. So do you get people basically from all over Canada applying to your program?
We do. Yeah, we do. We tend to get sort of from clusters where our applicants are from. The last few years, though, the whole crew has been from Ontario. We get the bulk of our applicants, probably 80% of our applicants are from Ontario. We'll see a few from British Columbia, a few from Alberta. Then when we advertise and promote the program through fire colleges across the country, so we've seen a few from the Maritimes. We've even had a couple from overseas in the past. We've had a couple from the UK and a couple from Australia that have joined us here. But as it stands right now, the bulk of our applicants are Ontario applicants.
Okay, right on. So, yeah, so anybody basically across Canada can apply. It's not specific to BC. And when they do get hired with you guys, they're working, living, eating at the fire hall, right? Like they're there, 5-7 days a week kind of thing, right?
That's it. Yeah, we've sort of experimented with some different shift schedules over the years. As our candidate or probationary firefighter, those demographics change. Their wants and needs have changed over the years as well. So we've had to adapt and wanted to adapt to meet those requirements. But one of the specific requirements that we do have on our end is that the crew members live at the fire hall. We've got 8 rooms here at the hall that university dorm room type style, or fire station dorm room style. We have a communal kitchen where they have their own space, a lounge area, of course, with TV and comfy chairs as expected. A significant gym space as well. We encourage them in their time here to not just get prepared from an experience standpoint or a certification standpoint, but really to consider their lifestyle and whether that's going to contribute to the longevity of their career. So fitness, diet, nutrition, mental health, all of those aspects are are things that we're talking about in our program. But that stems mostly from living in the fire hall here. It's because a lot of our recruits are younger. We've had people that have never it's their first time being away from home. Uh, in those first few weeks, they live on ramen noodles and stuff like that, and then their fellow firefighters help them out with some diet and that sort of thing too. So they have a really good opportunity to get fit here as well, and be ready for when they hit the floor wherever they land.
How does the selection process work for getting on as a work experience program firefighter?
That's a great question, because we're kind of in the same process as how these people would get hired at a career department, wherever that might be. We're looking for the same credentials, the same qualifications. NFPA 1001 is a minimum. We're looking for some first aid requirements. Class 3 driver's license for us in BC, Class 3 in Ontario, DZ. So Class 3 with air brakes. Medical certificates, minimum FR. We a significant amount of our calls, as a lot of calls are these days, are medical calls. So having that medical certification is critical. And then we work through, here in British Columbia, there's the medical licensing board. So we do their EMA license for a first responder. There's a new scope of practice out here where we're doing almost everything that an EMR does, although our hall is EMR, but we do those certifications and that sort of thing. So how they look on their resume already is a key piece for sure. Where we might differ a little bit, though, is from our experience and what we've seen with our graduates. They're looking for somebody kind of, a lot of career halls, like an early 20s firefighter is a pretty special recruit at a lot of fire halls. You're looking somebody mid 20s, maybe late 20s is sort of the average kind of demographic of a new recruit at a career hall around the country. We often take people a little bit younger to give them that little bit of a leg up. And when we do recruit, like everywhere, it's about fit for us, and not just who they are, but are they going to work with the other people that we're recruiting also. So I don't, and it's not that we're ageist or anything like that. Furthest thing from it, we've had crew members in their mid 30s and that sort of thing, and we've had also crew members that are 19, and everything in between. But we just want to make sure that if I hire a firefighter A, they're going to work well with firefighter B that I already have on my short list, right? And then another element to that too is, looking a little bit to where, maybe a career department is looking for somebody a little bit more polished. I also like to think, like, when we're doing those interviews, like, can we help that person? Does that person need us to help them achieve what their goals and their ambitions are? Because from our experience, once again, that person that needs us to help them with that bit of polish that they maybe don't have, they're going to really get after it when they're here. They're going to put in the work, and they're going to get going after it, and that's important to us. The work ethic side of things. And taking on the challenge and making the most of their time here. When they're telling me things like that in the interview, that they really want to be here for that, then that really bumps them up. Like, we've had some people that have finished really strong in our first couple of stages of our recruiting process, but then when we interview them, we do have the conversation. Like, I don't think that person needs us. I think they're going to be fine. They're going to be hired somewhere pretty quick without our program. So we do look for people that could use us a little bit, and we can, that really it's a motivating thing for us on our end to find that person that can really benefit from their time here and gain that polish to help them step into their career role wherever that may be.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, for the recruits, so you said it's 11 months, right? So are
Yeah.
they able to apply while they're one of your recruits, or is it they stay there for 11 months and then they can apply to career departments?
That's a great question. We sort of play it sort of two ways. What we look for, obviously, we do have a commitment that we have to serve our community, and we need crew members to be here for that duration. Our schedule and the way that our paid on call staff work is, as we move into the summer, they become a little bit more available and that kind of thing. So we do need people to cover the duration of their time here. Program generally starts kind of last week of May, first week of June, and then we generally go a couple weeks after the ski season ends. Call volumes just drop right off. Then for us, the place here, like sometimes it's like one of those Wild West towns where you see a tumbleweed rolling through town. It's so empty up here once the season closes that our call volumes fade to almost nothing. So yeah, we don't really need them for that time period, but we need them in the bulk of our season. But with regards to recruitments and that sort of thing, we ask for, when we hire them, we ask for the commitment for their time here. That said, though, if they do have a first choice, right? So if Toronto's your first choice, in no disrespect to Toronto, but I don't know what's the recruitment this time around, 300 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's with putting in the work and being a good candidate, you got a pretty good shot to get into Toronto. We've got a couple dozen graduates that are in Toronto as well. But if you're looking to be in Whitby or Bracebridge or Waterloo, I think Waterloo's recruit class this time around is about 8, right? So if that's your first choice, and that recruitment doesn't come up like Toronto does every 6 months, or Vancouver out here comes up the same every 6 months, that kind of thing. Well, then if that's your first choice, we ask them what their first choice is when they arrive. And if that opportunity comes to go to their first choice, then we honor that. Because we don't want to be in the way of anybody's career. Our mindset's the opposite. We want to be that springboard for people's careers. So we definitely honor that if it's their first choice. And we have had people leave us that have had the opportunity in their first choice, and they take that, and we support that 100%. Conversely to that, though, yeah, we look to have them here for the duration. So and a significant part of our training package is interviews, resume writing, cover letter writing, and that's that sort of thing, right? So we'll do that with our crew here. We'll start actually with the recruitment that we're moving through, and we'll show them some of that interview process so they understand how it works. They get to see it from the other side, which a lot of our crew feels that it's really valuable. And then the following week, we go into some resume writing and some cover letter stuff. We'll even record some Teams or Zoom interviews so they can see themselves, how they look sort of face to face, what their body language is, all of that sort of stuff, right? So that they get a bit of a leg up. So yeah, we definitely want them out the door and hired, but hopefully that they're staying for the duration. So where we generally look is as we turn into the new year, like I said, they start kind of late May, early June. They finish up in mid-April with us. So when you look at the recruitment timelines, as we cross into the new year, that's when, you're looking, well, it's probably going to be 3, 4, 5 months, that process. So we say, hey, let's start helping you with some applications. So into the new year, like we've got people right now, we've got one guy's back in Ontario right now interviewing. Wednesday, today. His interview is with Toronto today. Another one goes next week for their interview with Toronto, and then we've got a couple that are in process in BC. That's kind of a thing too. Is lots of people come from Ontario, but almost half of them stay out here once they come and experience life in British Columbia. So yeah, that's a great question. We support their first choice 100%, and have no issues with that. We just ask them to write it down for us, that because you could get in a situation where somebody has like 5 first choices. So we try to avoid that. But then, yeah, once we roll into the new year, yeah, we get onto it. We help reviewing resumes, cover letters, and then spend almost a full week of training going through how to be better at an interview.
Speaking of interviews there, Chief, we actually had a question from one of our listeners specifically for you. Can you prepare differently for the Chiefs interview than the panel interview?
Well, we're a little bit different, as I sit on the panel in our interview process. But, from my experience, Chiefs interviews and what I know about them, and speaking with, fellow Chiefs and stuff like that, like when you get to the Chiefs interview, the job is yours to lose, I guess, at that stage. I think that one of the things that I want to hear, if I do have that opportunity for a one-on-one, is what's mutually beneficial here between our relationship, right? What are you looking for from me? And how can I help you get that, right? And what are you bringing to the table? Is really kind of it, like those are to me, those are kind of the key things, like, what are you looking for, right? And what can I do to help you be a successful firefighter within my program here? Because that's really what it is at that stage. It's the handshake, it's the welcome aboard is what you're hoping for. I don't know of a lot of people that have lost it in the chief interview, but I have heard of a few stories, right, where people have just not really put their best foot forward, right? I think, the difference between the two is the preparation, I think, right? For that panel interview, you got to be ready for coming from all angles, I suppose, right? If you've got HR, if you've got captains in there, if you've got fellow crew members, you've got to be ready for a pretty wide spectrum of questions. Everything from experience to tell us a time when, all those stars type interview questions, right? When I sit down with somebody, what I'm interested in is them, the person, who's joining my team, right? And how do I get the best out of them? I want to know what motivates them. I want to know what inspires them. I want to know things too, like when I say getting to know them, like, in our business now, mental health and resiliency are critical aspects of our job. I want to know about their personal life a little bit, because we're going to work together for a long time, I hope. So getting to know them on that level, I think is good. That doesn't mean sitting in front of the chief and spilling your guts about your personal life and your how your mother left your dad and all of that kind of business, right? Like nobody needs to know that, right? But you know what I mean? Just like what motivates you, what inspires you, how can I help you be your best is really what I look for anyways. And I certainly don't speak for all chiefs at that level, but the ones that I talk to, I kind of think we're on the same page there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chief, one thing that I've really taken away from our conversation so far is not only are these recruits coming in and getting good fire experience, but it seems like they're also getting a lot of life experience, right? You have people from Toronto and all these other parts of Canada coming out and moving out there. And like you said, there might be some young guys or gals that are, in their early 20s coming out who have never left home before, right? So I think that's another valuable thing that you guys are providing is the life experience aspect. So that way, when they go for a career job, they can talk about their life experience and how they, lived with 6 other firefighters, on their own and learned how to cook and all this kind of stuff, right? So I think what you guys are doing is really, it's a lot more beneficial than just getting fire experience because you're also getting that life experience too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we like to think so as well. Like one of the best things I think about, there's a lot of really great things about our program, and we're very proud of it, of course, here, and probably being one of the first ones Definitely the longest running one. We're moving into 24 years now. This upcoming group will be WEP 24. I've been around for 20 of them in my time here at the fire hall, and one of the things that I think is great is exactly what you said, that life experience. But even deeper than that is the network that's created. We have firefighters visit us all the time. Like there was crew members from WEP 19 here just a week or two ago. We've had crew members from WEP 10 come and visit this season as well. And they're all working somewhere else in Canada. So, when we do have somebody that says, "Hey, I'm going to apply to Ottawa," I say, "Well, who you need to talk to? You need to talk to Marshy, Frankie, and you also need to maybe see Chucky as well, because they're going to give you a bit of a leg up." There's 3 guys just off the top of my head that are working in Ottawa, and if you want to know about what it's like to work in Ottawa for Ottawa Fire Services, that those are your guys. You want to go to Hamilton, you talk to Dutchy, right? You want to go to Brampton, right? You talk to Keegan. There's all these guys and men and women that have graduated from our program that are working at these departments as career firefighters, successful career firefighters. And who better to learn from to how to be a successful career firefighter than a successful career firefighter? And so that's one of the things that we encourage when somebody says, "Hey, I'm applying here." I just kind of often just scroll through my phone and I go, "She's there, he's there, Vanessa in Brampton. She's helped a half a dozen of our crew members get on board. Vanessa Shabkar in Brampton, we got, you got Rami in Toronto. You got all sorts of people that are going to give you a leg up, at least give you a bit of an inside track, give you a bit of insight to some of the interview stuff, give you a little bit of insight to the city that you're moving to and what they're looking to hear in that panel." So yeah, the life experience here and getting that happening here is definitely a massive asset. But even when you move on, like how to be a career firefighter, you hear that sometimes we get a lot of hockey players through here too. They're good team players and that sort of thing. But how to be a good pro, you hear that sometimes, like TSN, when you listen to the pundits and stuff like that, and coaches, especially when they're interviewing coaches, how to be a pro. Well, we got people there, boots on the ground, that are going to show you how to be a professional and career firefighter, right? They're going to take you under their wing to a certain extent, and away you go. We had one guy. It was pretty funny. He was on a ride along in Brantford, and he gets on the truck in this ride along, and he's sitting next to another WEP graduate, right on the truck, right? And he had a great ride along because of it, and he knows where they're coming from and that sort of thing. No idea that was happening, right? That shows up at the hall. We got the crew knows they got a ride along that day for part of their interview process, and gets on the back of the truck, and he's sitting next to another one of our WEP graduates, right? So that's a good feeling, and that support network is there. We're always here, as you guys know, it's brotherhood, sisterhood. It's a fraternity that we've got each other's backs, and they know that this is, whether they want us to be or not, we're their family moving forward, and we're going to have their back. So yeah, the life experience side of it for sure, but not just here, the life experience and moving forward, that there's that support network onwards as they take on the role of a career firefighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you just kind of tell us a bit about, say, a recruit's been hired, right, with you guys, and what is the next step? Like, do you guys put them through a Big White Fire Academy, or like, kind of, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So when they arrive with us here, we live and work in the wildland urban interface. So a lot of our recruits will have some wildland experience, but the ones that don't, that first out of the gates, that's a bulk of our training, just to get them up to speed on that. Because when they do arrive, we're neck deep in wildfire season. already. So that's kind of where we start. They start really I think it happens this year again as well. Their first weekend with us is a wildland structure protection course that they're on. WSPP 115 is what it's called out here. And that's a significant part of our defense plan for our community is making sure that everybody knows the ins and outs of structure protection and structure defense. But then from there, we transition into training that gets them truck ready, is the way that we like to call it. So where we differ a little bit, and it's I guess the paid on call structure benefit, really, you could say, is that, as you guys would know, like you might not be a driver, depending on the department. You might not drive a truck for 5 years, maybe even longer in some departments. You're definitely not in the front right seat inside of 5 years, right? That might be 10 years down the road. Whereas these crew members, they're gonna, as soon as we put them through the 1002, we do a 1002 as part of their training, a 1002 driver. Difficult to get the aerial aspect of 1002 out here, but we run an aerial 1002 course, but the certification is 1002 driver operator. So we go through that, driving, pumps and pumping, get them truck ready, and then medical. And then from there, we review 1006 components with auto extrication and rope rescue. And then a lot of basic stuff. We do a week stretch of live fire in our training building. Here we've got a shipping container building, 3 stories. It's made up of 7 different shipping containers stacked with different floors. It's standpiped and sprinklered. So, because in our community, high rise is significant. It's kind of strange. We're unique in the fact that we have high rises in the wildland urban interface, right? Because we are a resort community. So our biggest building here is 11 stories, but it's surrounded by the forest, which is pretty unique. You don't often see that. So high rise is a significant part of that. And then the underlying kind of element to that is sharpening and a review of some of the 1001 elements, like a lot of departments would do with a boot camp, but we're a bit more specific to Big White and our needs, our operations, our OGs, our equipment, right? Our response area, our call volumes, and our standard call responses, our protocols, our communications, and that sort of thing. So a bit of a review that way, and they do that up until Fire Prevention Week. So June until into the early part of October. Is generally when Fire Prevention Week is. And then another thing that the recruits get here is a lot of hands-on and engagement with the community. So they do a lot of work with the community school. Right now they're in the midst of a fundraiser, our annual. We do a rooftop camp out where they set up, and this year the charity that they're raising funds for is Mamas for Mamas, which is a local charity here that supports mothers in need in our community, in more so the Kelowna community, a little bit south or north of us here, but they work on that. So that first bulk of their training is specific to us and our needs, our equipment. They do a 1002, 1006, first responder certs and licensing. Bit of a review of their 1001, just so that we can make sure that their skills are there and that they're safe. Significant block of live fire as well, and then we transition into our regular schedule after they take an 11 day holiday or break. We in shifts, we break them up into two blocks. They go home, or some of them have gone home, some of them have gone on a beach vacation or something like that, depending on what they want to do, or they go explore British Columbia, because it's still a good time of the year to do that. And then they come back, and then we get into our regular shift schedule. So currently we've got 7 crew members. Unfortunately, we started with 8. Unfortunately, one of the crew had a family situation and had to go home, which we fully supported that. It really really unfortunate though. He's a great crew member, great teammate to have on board. So, and he's doing quite well back home right now. So we're down to 7. So we work a 4 on, 3 off schedule with that crew. And then from there, their week, they do Mondays is fitness and prevention. Is what they work on. As you guys would know, the fire prevention side of things is where a lot of new recruits start at various departments. And we know from some of our past recruits, New Westminster here in BC, for example, first 3 months for a recruit is often working in prevention. So the company inspections course is really important there, so that they can help with building inspections and that kind of thing. So we do a prevention and fitness day on Mondays. Tuesdays, they're into their regular shift schedule, but Tuesday night is our training night for our paid on call. So they're all required to be here for Tuesday. It's a tricky balance, but everybody kind of experiences the same calendar where if they're off on a Tuesday, they still got to be here Tuesday night. So it's just the way it goes. And then Wednesday is their training day because they all got to be here Tuesday night if they're off on Wednesday. And the way that the schedule cycles is, everybody gets burned for their Wednesday equally, unfortunately, but they're here to train, right? So they make the most of that because they're here the Tuesday night. They train on Wednesdays, full day training, which is anything and everything from what we've just recently experienced in a call where we want to brush up on something. If it's an additional certification, we'll do that. If it's just some more medical stuff, we'll do that. But yeah, whatever the training block happens to be. Right now, a couple of them are just writing the 1002 exam because it's Wednesday today. That's what a couple of them are doing just to finish up that cert. But yeah, they'll go out to the training ground. We might we'll work on VEIS. We'll work on throwing some ladders. We'll do interior fire attack. We'll do standpipe ops or whatever the case may be on that Wednesday. And then on Thursday, they do some stuff with the school. They help the kids move their ski equipment around and that kind of thing. So the kids, my kid goes to the local school. Their gym class on Thursday afternoons is going skiing and snowboarding. So we take our rescue down, load their gear up onto the rescue, bring it up for them. So the kids just ride the gondola up. So that community engagement piece is there. And then the other afternoons, the mornings is truck checks, equipment checks, like it would be at any station. In the afternoon, because we cycle the crew through 4 roles on their shift each day. They're a driver or a team lead, or a firefighter or a firefighter. So it's 4 spots. They cycle throughout their shift. When they're the driver, obviously they're driver operator. When they're the team lead though, they're responsible. They're essentially in the front right seat is where they end up. And if we get a call, they're first out. So they're responsible for what that officer would do on the truck. Although of course we support that with duty officers. So much like a platoon chief or platoon captain, we would roll in a different apparatus. We roll in a pickup truck, and then but they're going to be the team lead on the incident. Is what that role does. But then further to that, from a training standpoint, to get on track back again with that. The team lead also helps coordinate training in the afternoon on their shift day. So each day, they might review. The only thing they're not allowed to do is set anything on fire. We need to be there for that, but they can take the aerial out to the training ground and fly the ladder and do aerial ops. They can flow water with the engine and what have you. They can work on ventilation, they can do medical calls, they can do search techniques or whatever with smoke machine out at the training ground. It's a pretty dark building. They can do that sort of stuff. And that's really it. When they have projects though, like this week is the rooftop campout prep. That's this weekend. Their big fundraiser. They'll often do a lot of work related to that too. in their afternoons. So yeah, pretty well rounded. So sort of recap or overall, our training product or program is kind of 4 months front loaded, and then ongoing through the entire program.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys are giving a lot of diversity within your training, right? You're talking about training for wildfire, interface stuff, regular fire ops, prevention. So the recruits coming in, they're getting a really well-rounded training of what the whole fire service is like, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the objective, and then that training is supported by the experience. Like the last summer we had crews out on deployment. I don't know that don't think last summer any of the work experience crew went. The POCs went, but the year before in BC it was the worst wildfire season on record, and we had I was out myself personally for almost a month on deployments, and for 2 weeks I had 2 work experienced firefighters with me in a structure protection crew, which they would never get that experience back home unless they were with Ontario, or was it the ministry? I think the Ministry of Forests is how it works for wildfire in Ontario. A couple of them will work there, but these crew members had never been on a wildfire before, and we worked on the biggest wildfire in British Columbia 2 years ago in West Kelowna. It's right in our backyard. So, we're going to that no matter what, and we're going to put as many resources we can towards that fire to support our brothers and sisters down there, and those communities as well, because we know they're coming to help us. Should we be in that situation? So those crews, they got a significant amount of hands-on experience in West Kelowna. And then also we had crews go to Adams Lake, which was another big fire in the province that summer. And their camp got burned over and all of that sort of stuff. So bit of a crazy experience to get, but an experience nonetheless.
Yeah, I remember that West Kelowna fire a couple of years ago. That was, I remember seeing that on the news. It was insane.
Yeah, no, big fire, and just the topography and the weather and that sort of thing, and where the fire took place too. Our crews on that first operational period, our crews worked on the critical infrastructure, and I'm proud to say that the work that we did saved a brand new $75 million water treatment center.
Wow.
And that's our crews that we're engaged in that, with other crews from the local area for sure. But we're part of that effort. So yeah, one of the experiences that crew takes away with them is how wildfire works, and how teamwork is critical, and how the incident command structure works and what their role is within it. So when they sit at that interview panel, that's a great not just story to talk about, but a real learning experience that they have under their belts, and something that not everybody's going to get. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Any career advice you would give to a firefighter wishing to successfully get to where you are today, Chief?
Oh, geez, I think I'm here because there was nobody else available, right? Just be in the right place at the right time. Yeah. No, I was a deputy chief ops and training, so that's where and that in our structure, that's who's immediately in charge of the work experience program. So I worked with those crew members for quite a few years, and here we're in a smaller community, and we certainly had a succession plan in mind. Although the chief ahead of me retired a couple years earlier than initially anticipated, so yeah, I ended up where I am today because of that. But he was an incredible chief to work for and with, and I just didn't want to work for anybody else after that. So I put my hand up then and applied for the job. But I think kidding aside, like working through the fire service, it's putting in your time, right? It's continuing education and training, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about the fire service is that there's always an opportunity to learn something new and sharpen your skills and learn a new skill. I kind of tell our work experience crew members here that as soon as you figure you know it all, that should be the day that you retire, because you're not really an asset any longer. In fact, you might be a bit of a liability at that stage, right, where you think you've learned enough, right? So, yeah, just being open to that, being open to feedback, and putting in the work, right, is it. I moved through being a firefighter on the floor here to a lieutenant, to a captain, to the assistant training officer, to the deputy chief ops and training, to the chief is what my trajectory is here. So right from the floor to the office here. Sometimes I wonder if the floor was a better place to be, with just but our structure is such where, like I said this morning, we already had a medical call where I was out and I'm the IC on that. So our structure is a bit different where our chief officers are definitely duty officers as well. So we still get to do a fair bit of that, but just put in the work, be open to the learning, be open to the feedback, know that people have your back, and when they're giving you some direction and instruction, it's with your best interest in mind, especially when you're just starting out, that experience from above you and around you is an incredibly valuable resource, that paying attention to that and listening to that, and I tell some of our new recruits, especially, they do some ride-alongs down in Kelowna. As I said, look, you got 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. Mm-hmm. Is really it. Pay attention, listen, watch, right, and if you got a question, fire away, but make the most of those opportunities and put in the work, and that way you'll get there and on that correct path, I think.
That's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Chief, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and talk about Big White and the program that you guys offer. Like we said earlier, we think what you guys do there is awesome. It's such a amazing opportunity for people to get some real good experience on their resume, and also meet lifelong friends and get that life experience as well. So we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, it's truly my pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out and getting in touch. And we're in the process now of recruiting WEP 24, and we'll work through that program. But stay tuned for recruitment for WEP 25. It always opens on January 1st. So if you're looking to join us in WEP 25, then it's January 1st, 2026, and we'd love to see your application or resume.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also post that on our Instagram as well, so people are aware. So, yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Thank you so much for the support. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief. So take her easy, and it was great talking to you.
So we have just created our Patreon program, and it's online. We'll put a link in the description of this episode. It's got all our freebies on there. So it's got resume templates, the interview checklist,
the competitive edge checklist.
Yeah, competitive edge checklist.
And we're also going to be diving into more in-depth interview episodes and hiring process stuff. And we're going to be posting it on there. It really does help us out, because then we're able to pay Francesco for producing this podcast. If it wasn't for him, we'd be hooped.
You guys missed the part where we were just trying to turn this microphone on before this episode.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we wouldn't be anywhere without him. So we'd like to start paying him a lot more.
And it's also going to be a way for us to just upgrade to better audio equipment, better cameras, better lighting, and all that kind of stuff to bring you guys a better experience with this podcast.
Yeah, and that was your idea, actually, with the whole going over every interview question kind of in depth and really getting into the interview panel stuff.
Yeah, we'll be going into that in really great detail, really breaking apart the questions and just talking about like what they're actually asking in these questions, right? And yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of info, a lot of really, really good info.
And if it's not, let us know. We also have a chat group in there as well on Patreon.
That's right.
So if there's, guests you want us to see, bring on, or if there's questions you want us to ask or talk about on the podcast, you're more than welcome to ask us on there.
Yeah, for sure. sure. And like when it comes to those behavioral / situational type questions, we can break down a question and talk about it for probably half an hour.
Yeah.
Right. Just one question.
Easily.
So there's going to be a lot of really good info on that. And like we said, it's going to really help support the podcast so we can upgrade better equipment and also keep Francesco around so that way there is a podcast.
Chaining him down to the table would be too cruel.
Yeah. Right on.